They say that black students should go to lesser schools because we're incapable of succeeding at elite institutions. They, sadly, has included members of the Supreme Court quoting UCLA School of Law professor Richard Sanders. To them, and all those who agree with them, in the words of Jay-Z, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Sloan Whiteside. I'm not a quota maker. I'm not a seat taker. I'm black. I'm far more than capable. And today, I'm graduating from the most elite public law school in the country. When law school professors and Supreme Court justices openly question your worth and ability, thereby making it safe for your peers to do so as well, it can make law school a hostile place. But the world has always been hostile to my blackness. But at Berkeley, I was determined to be a trailblazer. When I stepped foot on campus,
I stood for a moment, reading those metal quotes on the side of the building, soaking in the prestige of the institution and relishing the fact that I was soon to be a part of it. From the beginning, it felt like a place I belonged. Not despite, but almost because of the exclusiveness. I felt called to rise to the challenge of blazing through a wilderness of conflicting counsels to study a wisdom of the past. I was eager to become a part of that elite group that had the privilege of ordering the lives of mankind. I was aware that I had leveraged wealth and privilege to get here, but I was unaware of how that privilege was impacting the way I understood myself, my relationship to Berkeley, and my relationship to my peers. Then I stepped into the classroom.
I was terrified. I was in a room full of people who didn't look like me, reading cases about people either owning, being acquitted for killing, or denying basic rights to my people. But no one screamed out, hey, screw the legal jurisprudence, these are actual lives. And honestly, neither did I. The outrage was internalized as it has always been. I became numb and apathetic, so much so that when my grandmother, my best friend, passed away my first semester, I didn't even cry or grieve. I lost my ability to feel. Only outside the classroom did I feel whole. I found my voice in my journal office, in conversations with other students of color. I was learning and thriving through my connections with individuals, not through my $300 textbooks. In social settings where I truly felt
uncomfortable. I wanted to connect, but I couldn't figure out how to show up in community. I was intimidated by our peers' accomplishments, so I found myself overcompensating to appear worthwhile. I was so thrilled to be a student again that I had trouble relating to people who felt like studying was a chore. But in the classroom, I felt at home. I eagerly awaited opportunities to speak publicly about complex ideas. It's my favorite pastime, and I was so excited to do it with such brilliant people. When I read cases that invisibilized the humanity and stories of the actual people involved, I felt empowered to speak up. And I did so, as my superbot knows, more than a bit too often. Love y'all. I knew the long history of oppression in our country. I came to law school to acquire the skills to help combat it. And the only form of advocacy that I knew was to speak loudly. Then Mike Brown was murdered. Then Darren Wilson wasn't indicted.
My apathy turned into blind and deep-seated rage. My friends and I were supposed to be studying for finals. Instead, we sat in my home in Oakland, watching the news coverage with bated breath. Then we couldn't breathe. We were crying tears that felt as useless as the system we were trying so hard to become a part of. At this point, enough was enough. We abandoned our books because, quite frankly, the laws in them always seemed to be abandoning us. It was time for me to wake up. I had been numb and asleep for so long that I thought the best thing I could do was to keep my head down and make it through. I was conditioned to do so and had become quite good at it. But that night I knew that silencing myself could never be the answer. That's when I went to the streets, in power, in solidarity.
And that's actually the first time I met Sloan. marching side by side with thousands down Grand Avenue in Oakland, with the words "Black Lives Matter" on our lips. My sense that I needed to make a contribution became more urgent and more grounded. As I stepped out of the classroom and into the community, I explored how I, as a white male law student, fit into the movement for social change. I started to come to terms with how much I had unwittingly internalized white supremacy and patriarchy. I saw how they made me feel entitled to lead and speak when what I needed to do was support and listen. I saw how they made me deny my own emotions, how they separated me from people that I love, and how they contorted a rich and loving child of a rich ethnic heritage into an unwitting instrument of oppression. With the help of many of the insightful, committed, fierce, and loving people sitting in those chairs right there, I understood that I had no business working on the racism that exists in our world until I took accountability for decolonizing my own mind. Despite how often society told me of my importance or my skill or my intelligence or my entitlement, I had no business speaking until I really understood how to listen. Honestly, it's a
process. And it's not the same for everyone. We all had different challenges and paths. Class of 2016, you made it through this. First, thank your family, my mom and dad. Be proud. Be as inspired as you are inspiring. Love yourself with that deep down love that gives you the energy to rise.
And we need to rise. We have an economic system that depends on limitless growth, and we live on a planet that has limited resources and limited space. It is simple math. This isn't going to work. We have less than 60 years of oil left. Climate change will displace 250 million people by 2050. Right now, people are profiting off incarceration while lobbying for harsher laws to ensure a steady supply of human beings to fill cages. Absurdly long sentences that are disproportionately enforced on people who do not yet have the power to protect themselves are part of the business plan. And members of the profession that we are entering legitimize those laws, and they rationalize the process and the practice of putting profits before people. Police with military equipment patrol our streets and spy on our citizens with the assistance of information harvested by the federal government. A man who's insecure about the size of his hands, who openly mocks people with disabilities, who has received endorsements from the KKK, is supported by millions and accepted by the media as a legitimate contender to become the commander-in-chief of the world's largest military. We don't need to be afraid. It's a tremendous honor to be faced with this reality. It's not every generation that gets a chance to literally save the world. And we can do this. Each and every one of us has the capacity to transform ourselves, our communities, our societies to become just and sustainable. And we're doing it. We've all witnessed it. We've seen it happening in the hallways, in the classrooms, in the journal spaces, while eating Mama Vu's noodles by the fountain. We know about our accomplishments. We know about our potential. Regardless of where we came from or where we're going, we are here, now, together. And together, in collaboration with the billions of us who don't happen to be graduating from Berkeley Law today, and the billions more who have no idea what Berkeley Law is, we can do this. We can literally save the world. But it'll take courage. We know.
Every step toward progress commits with someone waking up and daring to revolt. Some of us dare to fight against oppression, against injustice. Some of us even dare to risk our lives and freedom for it. Some dare to go to a firm and change the profession from the inside out. Some will be judges, prosecutors, and defense attorneys grappling with the law every day in a courtroom, trying to ensure justice. Some will be policymakers and politicians becoming the voice and the face of change. All of these are acts of revolution. We're about to enter a profession where sadly, the status quo is the norm and reigns supreme. But we now have the power to change it. They gave us a degree to do this, so. Gotcha. Who are we to remain dormant? Who are we to remain submissive? But most importantly, who are we to remain silent? You have your voice, you have your calling. No matter where you go, use this newfound privilege to empower others. This journey is far from over. I mean, this is our commencement. It's only the beginning. Class of 2016, out.